Hi, and welcome to episode number 5 of Gabbing with Gabby. And today I have one of my oldest friends, like known each other since 1998. We just figured this out. 22 years. We met at Whole Foods in Hillcrest. And I'll tell you that story right after, but it's my really good friend, Heather Huff. And she's a shaman, a healer, a teacher, and nature communicator. We're going to learn all about that stuff in a little bit. But the way I met Heather, and I will never, ever forget the day that I met her, it was like, I think it was my first or second day working at Whole Foods. And I was clocking in, or I was in the break room. It was upstairs. And here comes Heather, and she was just rocking out. And she was clocking in, and she was like, dude, I just heard Stairway to Heaven on the way. It was so rad.
I still talk like that.
And from that moment on, I knew that we were going to be friends forever. And we haven't. We've been through a lot. We've been through weddings and births and all kinds of stuff.
Everything.
And she is, one of my really, really great friends. And I'm so happy she's here. And you're going to learn some really cool stuff today. One of the things that we're going to talk about is her long-term project that she's working on right now about communicating with trees. And she got a really cool message today that she's going to share with us. So I'm going to give it to you, Heather, to tell us a little bit about communicating with the trees, what that means, and what your long-term project is.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here, Gabby. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
I'd completely forgotten that was the moment we met. I always thought we met like downstairs. There was like a meeting happening or something, and I walked up and said hi, or I tried to get you to sit with all of us. Do you remember that?
Okay. I don't remember that, but
yeah.
I just remember that's my first memory of you. Maybe that wasn't the moment we met, but that's definitely my first memory of you. And it's just ingrained in my memory.
I love that because
it just encompasses who you are, really. Like, you're just so happy, and there's little things like that bring you joy, and then you just radiate that joy, and people are attracted to that. And I definitely was. And I felt like when we finally talked, or when we met, whatever it was, I just felt like we had known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And we were just meeting up again.
Yep.
Soul sisters.
Yes. And I still act like that when I hear Stairway to Heaven.
I know. I believe it.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the trees, because it's kind of a funky, different thing. And so I kind of just stumbled across the term nature communicator maybe about 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh, there's a word for that.
Yeah, right. I've been doing this for a long time.
Right. Yeah. Like my whole life, I've heard the trees, their voices. Trees have voices, as strange as that sounds. They really do. They've got spirits. They speak. They hold memories. They share hope and encouragement. They really can be our friends. Like hearing the voices of a river, or rocks, mountains, those always, my whole life, this has been a thing. And, stumbled across, there's actually a word for that. And I'd say maybe about, it was when we first moved here to Texas about 10 and a half years ago. I noticed that the trees here, it was like, because there's a lot of trees here, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know what I was expecting moving to Texas, but I wasn't
like desert, right?
Right. I wasn't expecting to come to a place that's filled with water and trees, but here we are in a place filled with water and trees. And there's a lot of very old trees here. And so, we'd go to the parks, and I would just feel them, their heart. So they're more kind of, they communicate from their heart, right? And they touch our hearts. And I just was having this compelling experience to touch them. And I would put my hand on their trunk and say, it's okay to wake up now. It's okay to wake up now. Okay to wake up now, right? Like their consciousness had gone to sleep, right? They were not surrounded. So I'm going to loop back around to that in a second. So what I've been doing in my project is I've kind of been tapping into, it's really just been all accidental. I didn't set out to do any of this. It's like just been happening and unfolding. And what I've learned as I have delved deeper into understanding the wisdom of trees is that ages ago, trees and people had a conscious connection with each other. Like, I don't know how long ago this was. I'm still kind of like starting to search now for books or any trees that, and there are some things you can find in like old Celtic folklore that do talk about an age long ago, right? It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where humans and trees had an alliance and had an understanding and a pact, and that they were kind of partners in preserving the forest and preserving the world. It was like they were a family. And so I was getting the message from them for years and years and years that they wanted to speak through me. Like they wanted me to write down what they said and shared it. And are we allowed to cuss on here?
I'll bleep it out.
Okay. Well, then I won't cuss. Anyway, so
I'm trying to keep it clean.
Hearing this request from them, and I'm like, that is way too effing weird. Absolutely not. No way in HE double hockey sticks. No, that is too weird. I'm not, people are going to think I'm a freaking lunatic. And,
no way.
You don't think so?
I don't think you're, I love trees. You know this about me.
I know.
I love trees.
Yes.
And you know, when I went to Mariposa Grove and I was like, Mark, pull over right now. And I ran out and I just hugged those trees and just placed my hands. I totally 100% believe that they have an energy and they are trying to either communicate you or you're just, whatever it is, however you perceive it, but there is something there. And so I always feel drawn to trees. I love them. So I don't think that you're crazy at all. And who cares if people do?
I appreciate that. They do have a spirit and they do have consciousness and they're aware. So for years, they were kind of like, I felt like they were kind of nagging at me, like, please, like sometimes it would be very intense. Like we really have things we need to say. Please, please share what we say. And I just was too scared. I was too scared what people were going to think. I was terrified people was going to think I'm a lunatic. And I was just too hung up on my own self to be willing to be in service. And so what changed? Oh, I have a little wren friend that lives in my pear tree. And every time I'm thinking about my fear, she shows up and she just hopped right up in the pear tree right there. So back in February, I guess 9 months ago now, I died for 3.5 minutes. And we still don't know exactly why, but my heart stopped completely for 3.5 minutes and the whole thing, I was dead. And my husband thankfully kept his wits about him and was able to resuscitate me. And during that time that I stepped out, I was on the top of a mountain with the teacher of the lineage of Reiki that I've studied since 1994. And he was had his hands out like this, and he was directing like hundreds and hundreds of lightning bolts into my body. And this was as real as I'm sitting here talking to you. I didn't know what had happened. I just knew that that's where I was now. I had no recollection of my life. I had no recollection of my family, anything.
Wow.
And it was just going on, and he was just like, holding his hands out up on this mountain, and all these lightning bolts were, striking me and striking me and striking me. And then all of a sudden I woke up in my husband's arms on the ground, hearing him say to my daughter to tell the ambulance to come around the back. And, went to the hospital and all of that and stuff. But for whatever reason, since then, I've heard the trees in a completely different way. I experienced a lot of things very differently since then. I guess I'm not going to cry. Like dying has made me really look at life differently, look at a whole bunch of stuff differently. But for whatever reason, ever since that happened, all the time. So what I'm looking at when I'm looking up is that in my office here, I have 1, 2, 3 giant trees that are in my garden that like surround where the windows are in my healing room, and they're like sending me love right now. But for whatever reason, after I died and came back, it's like I could feel the trees in my mind. I could feel their energy in my body. And in a weird way, I know this sounds so strange, and I don't really have any other way to explain it other than I feel like somehow I've become one of them. Clearly, I'm not a tree, right?
Right. But you feel connected to them.
I feel this
in such a way that you can feel their same feelings.
Yes, like they have like let me into their circle or something like that. I don't really know how else to explain it. And when that started happening, I also started noticing that what I was feeling from them and what I was hearing from them, I no longer felt compelled to hide. There was no more fear. Like one of the big things I've noticed since coming back from that dying experience is that I don't feel encumbered by fear the way that I was before that happened. And I have such a strong connection with the trees now that I have this undeniable being of service kind of relationship with them, where I feel that it is my duty to speak for them. And the messages that they are bringing through, so I'll like have a dream or I'll have a vision of a tree that wants to speak to me, and then I'll just go to the tree and I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll sit with it and listen, and I type it all out on my phone, and I always post it onto my my healing arts page on Facebook and on Instagram. And then from there, I just recently, a couple weeks ago, did a sacred tree circle where people came to the circle and they brought a tree with them. So they sent me pictures of a tree that was coming with them. And it was like a collaborative experience where the tree spoke to each person who came and also gave a message for the group. And then all of the trees worked together. So like there was someone from all over, from Canada, from Missouri, some from Texas, someone from California. So like all these trees wove themselves together and created this healing journey for everyone who was there. So it's one of those things where, I don't really know where it's going. I just feel like it's just at the very baby tip of something that.
And it's starting to grow. And what was the message that you received? Was it yesterday or today?
I just got it today.
So what happened with
this tree is that wind from it started blowing in my direction, and I could feel, you can feel like when the tree's spirit is reaching out to you. And I looked at it, and none of the other trees were dropping leaves. And as soon as I looked at it, like tons and tons and tons of yellow leaves started falling out of just this one tree.
Wow.
And so I walked over to it, and I could feel it. Like it's, it's like it greets you, and it's like so happy that you hear it and that you feel its consciousness. And I was looking at it to figure out the best way to take a picture of it, and a bird came down and scooped its wing into my hair.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
Only you. This really only happens to you.
I know.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is. I mean, it's just crazy. They're like, wow, okay.
I know. And what's even stranger is that I was having lunch with a friend, like her kids and my kids, and she and I were having lunch, and she was looking at her phone, and only at the exact minute when that bird scooped into my hair, she looked at me. So she saw it happen. I'm like, thank God.
Eyewitnesses.
There was a witness. Because sometimes people are like, surely you're making this stuff up. I'm like, I'm really not. How would I even think of this stuff?
I'm not. Anytime you go on a hike, it's like, I found a skull of some rare animal. Like,
Right.
always. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So here's the message. You
definitely are a nature communicator. So let's hear what this tree said. This is the first time I'm hearing it, so I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. Well, I just posted it like an hour ago, so I don't know.
I'm only on there when I have to be, so I have not been on.
I know. Me too. Okay. This is the message from today. It says, "Dear ones, we are sending you radiant waves of healing light to soothe your nervous minds and weary hearts. We are sending you warmth, support, and love. We encourage you to not give up hope And right at that moment, when it said hope, it shed a bunch more leaves, and they were like everywhere. It was like snow
Wow.
in that moment. Do not let dismay fill you. We hear you. We hear your hopes, your prayers, and your dreams. We hear your whispered cries for safety and peace, and we stand with you. We want these things too for all of the world. Trees and people once stood as family. Many of you have forgotten this. Oopsies. But we still remember. You have many allies in the natural world who want peace and safety for all. Look to us when you find your hope faltering, and when you do, and we wave or we send wind to brush across your face, know that this is not a coincidence. This is indeed how we communicate with you. We are family, one world, all species, connected with love. Our consciousness and your consciousness can and do meet. Hold fast to your roots, to what you believe in, and rise and stand as we do, as one.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's a great message for especially now, because there is so much unease in the world for a variety of reasons.
For a variety of
so many reasons that people are just feeling anxiety and stress and unease. And so that's a really, really great message. And you posted that on your Facebook.
Yeah, it's on
Facebook
Instagram
page
as well. Yeah. And these met, they're always profound like that. These beautiful shares of, peace and love and togetherness. And, some of them, will kind of be more assertive, like, please wake up, like sometimes the message will be like that. So I never know what the truth is going to say, but I now have this like unshakable relationship with them where, I guess I'm the volunteer that they've been wanting
tribute. Yeah.
Right, for a long time. And I've let my own fear get in the way, and that's okay. We only get there when we get there, right?
That's true. And that's a good point and a good way to segue into this next part of your life, which I've known you for 22 years, right? Yeah. And it's taken you 22 years to get to this point of embracing who you are, because you are a natural healer and you have always been. You can communicate with people who have passed on. You can help people through their trauma, whether it is with someone who's passed on or something that's, traumatic in their life, whatever it may be. Nature communicator. You Reiki Master and a shamanic healer. Now we enter the age of COVID. Life is totally different. We can't really put our hands on people or do any kind of energetic healing, face to face in person. But you found that doing it virtually, there is a way, and it is possible. So can you share, first of all, with people, maybe tell them a little bit about Reiki and shamanic healings? Maybe some people don't know what it is and how it's helped people in this time of stress, anxiety, and trauma, and how even virtually you've been able to ease that for some people.
Yeah, I would be happy to. Yeah, it's so funny because forever I was so anti, like, I'll never work online, and then of course, we're here and we're forced to, and I have found that it's such an incredible way to connect with people, and it's such a powerful way to connect with people, where it's like going back to the stairway of heaven, right? The guy in the cave holding the lantern. It's like really, you're like stepping through the computer into someone's house and handing them a lantern, right?
Yeah.
And telling them you're not okay. This isn't all dark. It's going to be all right, and you're going to make it through this. So I think a lot of people know about Reiki, so I'll just touch on that briefly. So Reiki is a form of energy medicine, of energetic healing, where the Reiki practitioner, through their hands, whether it's in person or over a distance, is directing universal life force healing energy to the recipient. And that, oopsie, sorry about that. That's because I talk with my hands and I just like hit the,
I know.
I'm like, when
you're
you're
like an Italian.
Reiki, when you're sending Reiki, the person can receive it, whether they're sitting right next to you, or they're laying on a table in front of you, or they're 2,500 miles away. So really, we tend to think, oh, we're physical creatures, we're having a physical experience, and it's very convincing, right? Everything around us is very compelling that, yeah, I'm a physical being having a physical experience. And deep to that, okay, yes, it's true, but there's also another truth, which is that deeper to that, what makes up our ability to have a physical experience is that we're energetic beings, and that the actual fibers of our consciousness are present in the molecules of energy that make up who we are, right? And I'm talking about our soul, our physical body, all of it. And so when we do energetic healing, we're affecting the physical body, the mind, the emotions, and the spirit all at once. So that's kind of Reiki in a kit and caboodle. And I found my way into getting formal training in shamanic healing because I just have, kind of just like this insatiable thirst for understanding, like, what are the true, like, I just want to know, like, what are the true roots of healing, and where did it all originally come from, and what would happen if we broke down all these complicated ways in which we approach healing and dig back into like the essential ways that people were first sharing healing, right? So that's kind of what took me on this path of shamanic healing. So the direction I went with that was learning more of the Andean approach to healing, and with, kind of some South American fusion in there, where they really look at, they don't see energy the way we do. Like, well, there's good energy and there's bad energy, or I'm like possessed by evil spirits, or I'm woke, right? All these big, big opposites that we like to lump everything into, because we're looking at energy medicine through the lens of our Judeo-Christian inculcation.
There has to be a black and a white, right? It
there
needs to
does,
be,
right?
yin yang has to balance out somewhere. Can't be a gray area.
Be neutral, right? And what we didn't realize being in the West is that we have that experience because our thinking is ingrained in these Judeo-Christian ideals, which are good versus evil, good and bad, angels and demons, all of these ways of looking at things as either an or, and that not cultures look at it like that. So with shamanic healing, it goes so much deeper than Reiki does, because we can get down to really like the bare bones and the deepest roots of, why do I have anxiety? Why do I get triggered when my husband does X, Y, and Z? Why do I feel panic about this? All these things that happen to us that we, I think as Americans, especially as we grow into adulthood, tend to just kind of accept, oh, well, I just have anxiety, or, I've got panic disorder, or I've got this unexplainable health condition. We're looking
accept it, and accept it, and like, this is just how I have a label, I'm going to put it on there,
right? And here's the pill I take for that, or whatever it is that I do to manage this condition that I have for my entire life. So when we look at things shamanically, we come back to this deeper layer of, okay, well, everything's energy, and then we break it down to, okay, well, maybe that traumatic thing I experienced when I was 5 really is still affecting me. We kind of break down our life events and we start to look at them in different ways. And we learn that we hold the heavy energy of emotions and of trauma and of anxiety from past experiences, even ones we don't think maybe have affected us so bad. We hold those in our body. Right? And then just kind of like a big pimple, right? It just kind of grows and grows and grows into a boil. And it's like, oh my God, every time I touch it, it hurts, or what's going to happen when it pops, right? And we we know it needs to pop, but we don't want it to because it's going to hurt. But then that's like the only way it can heal, right?
Yeah.
So shamanic healing offers us a way to experience ourselves and our life is like a holistic, beautiful picture, right? And we can go in there and we can clean up the places in our energetic body, right? that is the underpinning, the foundation of our thoughts, the foundation of our emotions, the foundation of our physical health. We can get in there and we can clean up all of those roots and those big boils and, you know, all the stuff we've been hiding behind closed doors, right? That's giving us that anxiety, that's giving us that panic disorder, that's giving us the chronic bronchitis or what have you, right? And then so our body and our mind and our emotions can naturally come back into harmony, which that's our natural state, right? Is harmony and balance. So in shamanic healing, really all we're doing is we're going in there and we're clearing out any and everything, right? That's keeping us out from being in harmony with ourselves.
Right. Right. Anything that's getting any blockages, anything that's getting in the way of you being your authentic self, natural self, right?
Yeah.
And so when we enter COVID now, where everybody's all heightened anxiety, you know, maybe you're someone who, I know a lot of people who have a little bit of anxiety around other people being sick, like being hypochondriacs and stuff. And it's just amps up that fear. Like you're afraid to go out, but this person doesn't have a mask. I don't want to touch that. I mean, it's real. Or even just the mask wearing alone. I'm a little claustrophobic. So at any time I can take that mask off, I take it off because I feel like I'm not having trouble breathing, but my mind feels like I'm having trouble breathing, right? So it's kind of, it messes with me. So I got like to take it off, you know, because I feel like I'm being strangled. And I know that's a real feeling for people. And that's why they don't want to wear this mask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now enter COVID, right? And you're a shamanic healer. And you were, like you said, originally anti going online.
Yeah.
But now you find what?
That just like you and I are talking here on Zoom, that this kind of healing can happen just in this exact way, right? So if, you know, we have a conversation about what's going on with you, you know, what are you feeling challenged with, all the things, right? Then we get down, you know, then we like dig in there and do some investigating. Well, you know, where did this start? And we like kind of follow some paths back into your past and find, you know, the roots of where did this pattern get started, right? And then the rest of the session is me guiding you with breathing and moving energy and, you know, really facilitating a deep inner journey, right? To go and find these roots and pull them up and release them through breath work, and then using assisted energy work to help to bring you back into harmony with yourself. It's amazing that it happens online, like face to face on Zoom like this, but really we're talking about energy, right? Time and space are not necessary components of energy medicine healing, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful tool that we can use to help us get through this time.
Yeah, I agree. And even though we're not touching, even though you know, we all want to hug people, you know, we're very touchy-feely people, and we want to hug people and we want to connect with people. But I too have found that, you know, I'm a personal trainer, so I'm with people, I'm a teacher, I'm in there in the room and I didn't think there was any way possible, but I find it very rewarding to even just see someone in a camera and I'm still connected to you. I'm still connecting with you. It might be, you know, through this screen, but we're still making a connection. And that's really what you need. You just need that energetic connection.
Right. And it's like, you know, you're looking in my eyes, I'm looking in, you know, whatever, we're looking in each other's eyes, right?
Yes.
We are connected with each other. You know, it's clear what each other is communicating to each other. So I think that with COVID, I really feel like it's an opportunity for us to really develop these special ways to connect with each other that maybe can even be more fulfilling, because we don't take them for granted.
Right. And now think about, people are walking around with masks.
Yeah.
And all you see, this is all you see. You have to make eye contact.
You have to. Yeah.
When you're talking, you have to make eye contact with somebody, and their mask is, you don't have that. I mean, you might look down at their mask, but you really are forced to look into someone's eyes nowadays.
I'm loving that so much, because people say so much more with their eyes than they do with their mouth, right? I love it.
And you can tell when someone's smiling or when they're not
Yeah.
happy, just, through their
Yeah.
eyes. But yeah, you are definitely forced to
Uh-huh.
make way more eye contact nowadays
Yeah,
with
and to pay more
mask
attention
wearing.
to body language. Do you find that's true
Hmm.
in your
Yes.
world? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, there are definitely silver linings that have come out of all of this, and people
Hmm.
are adapting, and we're adapting in a good way.
Yeah,
Some things, yeah, sure. Do I miss being in person and doing stuff? Of course. I mean, that will
sure.
probably never go away, and it'll come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, it will for
It's
sure.
not gone forever. It'll come back.
Yeah,
But in the meantime, thank goodness we live in the age of technology and we can do this kind of stuff. I mean, you're in
absolutely.
Texas, I'm in California. We can still see each other and connect. I mean, this is amazing, right?
It's
It's so
amazing.
amazing that we can still
Yes.
do this stuff. So
Right. I
if
get to
somebody
gab
wants
with
to get a
Gabby
whole,
from Texas.
yeah, Gabby, wait, Gabby, I need to start having coffee here.
Right? That would be
Drink my
perfect.
coffee while I'm,
Yes. You
that
need a
that'll
mug.
happen.
You need a mug
Yes,
that says gabbing with Gabby.
I'm working on a logo.
Oh, you are? Sweet. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Heather.
You're
Like I
welcome.
said,
Thanks
I
for
know
having me.
really, really amazing, cool people. I hope that you guys find all these stories that I'm posting as compelling as I do. I mean, maybe I'm biased and I just think my friends are amazing, but I think that most people will think that they're amazing too. And I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy and taking the time to support me and my crazy ideas and connecting and sharing your story and getting this information out to people. And
Yeah, it's
thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much for being here, and we'll see you guys next time with Gabbing with Gabby. Bye.
Bye.